Hello and welcome back to Calradia Expanded at War, and we're currently in a persuasion barter situation, and I have a very, well, hopefully, kind of lucrative offer here. Anyway, let's see if I can do this. Okay, so I want more from this guy, and I'm very much hoping that he is going to be kind of, kind about things, maybe be a little bit gentle. And we're going to see whether I can try to persuade him. Ooh, here we go. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, look at that. Adding 2 castles to the mix might actually make a bit of difference. I'm liking this quite a bit. Okay, so what about if I just add a little bit of cash on top of that? How much is the... Oh, wow. Okay, so I literally would have to give him 529,000. Yeah, that's probably not going to work out too well for me, sir. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to need something else then. I'm going to need to give him something else. I don't really want to, though, all things considered. What about foreign castle? Okay, so I can literally give him 3 castles. I guess this kind of makes sense, right? A town for 3 castles, it kind of makes sense, the value of these things. Okay, let's do that. And let's give him... I don't even know how much I can get away with. Let's see if I can give him 10,000. Okay, 10,000 is perfectly fine. What about 5,000? I'm going to try and, get by with as little spent as possible if I can. So 9,000. There we go. I'm actually going to... I'm going to throw in 1 extra gold. So I'm going to give him 9,001. And we are going to be gaining a town for 3 castles, which I think is pretty good. Because what this does, in essence, is it reduces the amount of garrison wages that I need to pay, and it also increases the amount of, potential friendly areas that we can go to and possibly sell and all that stuff. So anyway, we're just going to do this. It might not be a good idea. Just bear that in mind, because if you think about it now, you can see that the territory that the Botanians now own is significantly larger than if they had just owned Omor. However, I personally don't have a lot of units in Firth Castle or Takor Castle. The only place that I had a decent amount of units in was Foreign Castle, and, well, thanks to our new settings for improved garrison, most of the people there are only going to be tier 3, and as a result we shouldn't have too many difficulties dealing with the garrison there if we want to take it back at some point in the future. Okay, so apart from this, well, you can obviously already tell that we are at war against someone else. We are at war against the Northern Empire, and I'm actually thinking that maybe what we want to do is we want to go in there straight away and just kind of attack. Just attack very aggressively and quite recklessly as well. This is not usually something that I would recommend doing for anyone, because you really have no idea where the enemy's armies are, and they may very well come out of nowhere and then just blindside you without any difficulty at all. Now, I am going to be building a battering ram and a siege tower. I think we're only going to go for those 2. I think going for 3 construction, wall, scaling, siege equipment things are not... I personally feel like it's not the best strategy to have, at least in my opinion. And I personally prefer having 1 battering ram, 1 siege tower, and then the other wall having only siege ladders. I think that makes a bit more sense, because then we have a bit more variety. We have a place where people are going to be able to ascend the walls very, very fast. And then obviously we have the other places that require a little bit more setup time. Now, I have to be a very, very careful individual here, because if I am not paying attention, boom. Alright, this is fantastic. So, yeah, anyway, if I was not paying attention, I would be attacked by a very large army. Thankfully, the Northern Empire seems to be busy somewhere else. Maybe Dirthart's army is actually doing something, as you can see. Oh, they are besieging Epicrotia as we speak. That is a pretty significant acquisition if they can manage to do it. Anyway, I just wanted to touch upon this real quick. About the whole trebuchet thing. Okay, so I assume that those of you that commented on that have not seen my other series that actually focused on siege warfare on a pretty massive scale, because I know I do realize here, so this is understandable, But if you haven't seen those series, I'd recommend, you know, going to watch those, because they're actually very cool. Some of them are extremely fun, unique sort of themes and stuff like that. But the point is, I know about the strategy when it comes to building a trebuchet and then putting in the backup, you know, in reserve, basically. I know about the strategy to build 4 of them and put 1 in the reserves every single time. I know about that. I've been using that for many, many months, many series, in fact. And the only time that I stopped using that was when the developers introduced the siege bombardment casualties ratio being increased. At least that's what I have seen so far. And so whenever I would go to build trebuchets, I actually attempted to do this, I believe, in the... It wasn't the Berserker series. I think it might have been the series before that. I could be misremembering, of course, so don't quote me on that. But generally, I was starting a series and I thought, okay, first siege in the new version. And what happens? I end up losing about 100 units in under 2 minutes, real time. And I thought to myself, wow, okay. We probably cannot do that again. We probably cannot continue to just throw units just randomly into the void, basically. We were throwing them into the void, and we were not getting much for it. And in my opinion, that's just way too harsh. I think you're going to need very specific perks, by the way, for that to actually work out, because there are a number of perks that you can get in either the engineering skill tree or in the medicine skill tree, and they generally will reduce the amount of siege bombardment casualties that you have by a certain percentage. I think it's either 50% or 25%, I think, or maybe 33%, I'm not sure, but I think there are a variety of different things that may benefit you in regards to the bombardment thing. But see, now, here's the main problem with it. I actually really enjoy using trebuchets. I enjoy using trebuchets. I enjoy, participating in destroying the walls, and I personally find destroying walls really fun, because it then means that you have an alternate method of getting inside the castle or the town or whatever you are wanting to capture. And now that avenue of attack has kind of been limited, and that is all thanks to the bombardment casualties rating, or ratio, or whatever you want to call it. And it's actually really sad, because I used to love destroying the walls and then going in through the gaps that were left, because I think that that's a super enjoyable thing to do. It severely restricts the amount of casualties that you're also going to suffer as a result of your offensive siege, and it's just generally much more efficient. However, the problem with it is that, one, it takes way too long to build all these trebuchets, especially with an extremely low engineering skill, which I personally don't think I have a very low engineering skill, and yet it still takes me a massive amount of time to build these things. So I have no idea what's going on with that. But apart from that fact, it is also opening yourself up for potential retaliation. So while you're building these trebuchets, the enemy has a chance to respond. They have a chance to bring any number of armies to you and will indeed attack you. And if you're not done, this is obviously, putting the cherry on top, basically. If you're not done with destroying the walls in the time that it takes you, once you've gotten all the trebuchets up and running, then if an enemy appears, a massive, massive army, and I'm talking about, over 1,000 units, and let's say you have, I don't know, 250 like I have right now, or 300, or maybe even more than that. Maybe you have 500, and yet there's an army with 1,000, and they have a massive amount of combat strength, and it's just very, very scary. Let's imagine that's happening. And then you get the walls down, and the walls are just about to go down. They have 1,000 HP left, or better yet, they have 500 HP, maybe even 100 HP left. And yet you're not able to go any further, because the enemy is then going to attack you, and then you have nowhere to go, and you have to go in, and you haven't destroyed the walls in that time. and there's not even a partial destruction. You see, that's also the main thing that you have to consider here. That's the reason why I think a little bit of refinement could be used in the siege mechanics, because while I absolutely love the way that sieges work nowadays, you know, it's much better than how it was in Warband, but I generally would love to see a couple of refinements in that area, because as it stands right now, you have, well, I mean, you've seen me, right? You've seen me in this series and maybe in the Berserker series as well. And, you know, for those of you that haven't seen when I was actually using trebuchets and so on, you know, you've seen me basically do every kind of siege warfare. You know, building battering rams, going up the siege ladders, and using trebuchets. All of those I've used. There aren't any really other ways of doing it, unfortunately. I would love to have a way to, you know, I mean, technically you can acquire fiefs by doing everything as a price, and that is another way of gaining territory, but I'm mostly talking about siege here, and that doesn't really come into things, does it? But, you know, anyway, the point is, we've done every kind of siege strategy that you can think of, and yet there's just, I feel like there isn't enough variety in what you can do, because as it stands right now, you know, the only really effective way of doing things, oh, by the way, these guys have no loyalty in me whatsoever, which is actually kind of harsh. And wait, what's going on here? Very low loyalty? I mean, I understand we have 22. That's actually not bad. I personally feel like that is not a bad amount of loyalty to have, but okay. Wouldn't actually say that that's very low, but okay. Anyway, I'm just going to wait here for some time, because obviously this is now mine, and it would be a good idea to get all the garrison units in there and to have my parade skill do some work. But yes. Anyway. The most effective way, at least in the Berserker series, was using siege ladders only, and that's it. And that obviously is very much dependent on multiple factors. That's dependent on who your enemy is. It's dependent on, you know, the layout of the siege and all that stuff, because maybe sometimes it's better to use siege towers like we're doing there right now, because these places have sort of small to medium walls. But if you're attacking the Empire, you don't even need to build these things. You know, the Empire has such large walls that you can use the siege ladders, and you will probably not have too many difficulties getting inside. But trebuchets, for me, have been completely and utterly devastated. I really just don't think that there's any point in using them nowadays, because, as I say, the siege bombardment casualties are just so significant, and the time investment, which is also another thing to consider, is just way too large. There's just way too much time taken to build all these things. It's just absolutely impossible to get anything built in the time that it would take otherwise to just build, you know, one battering ram and a siege tower, you know? So there's also that. But anyway, that's enough about the siege. And personally, I would love to see more covert methods of taking a fief. And I look to Warband here and some of its mods, because if you look at, for example, Brittenwalder, or even Viking Conquest, because it was obviously developed by the same people, those methods of sieging were extremely fun, but albeit a little bit janky in some aspects. You know, I mean, it is a mod after all, and obviously there's only so much that the modding community can actually do, but the developers have to give them the tools to be able to, you know, flesh out all of these systems. But what I'm mostly talking about is poisoning the water in a certain town, or sending in a spy to destroy the food supplies, or any number of things. You could send bribes to the various people in the taverns or something. So, for example, maybe there's an unscrupulous band of mercenaries that you could potentially bribe to, I don't know, carry out some assassinations against some captains of the guard or whatever. And then these captains of the guard would be unable to lead their militia in the siege that you would inevitably do, and then it would make it a lot easier. You know, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Anyway, I am going to just take a look. Yeah, my loyalty is at 48. My construction is at 68, which is fantastic. I'm just going to wait here for a little bit longer. You may think that I'm not doing anything right now, but I am actually increasing my loyalty just by staying here because of the parade skill, or the parade perk. It is just fantastic. That thing really, really is great. Anyway, okay, so we've taken Epicrotia as well, as you can see right there. And I'm going to go over to Balgard. Now, here's the thing. I am 100% certain that we will be declaring war against the Botanians at some point in the near future. I'm not saying that that's going to be the thing that will happen, you know, in the next 2 days or whatever, but I'm saying that it will happen eventually. And when that time comes, I will be ready to connect my territory. Oh yes, I'll be ready to connect my territory, and hopefully that's going to then work out really nicely for us. Oh, Varcheg? Varcheg is actually a part of our faction now. Oh yes, I remember that. We persuaded him, didn't we? Okay, so I'm going to actually have to give this to him then, because he has nothing at the moment. So we might as well do that, gain a decent amount of relation with him as well. And there we have it. Alright. Sounds pretty good. Okay, so let's have a look at Balgar. 229. That is actually pretty good. Not bad, if I do say so myself. 229. Yeah, so what will hopefully be the case is when we take this, if we are able to take this without being interrupted by a massive army or something, because no doubt they are already on their way, then I'll be able to take Firth Castle back and take Takor Castle back, and then we'll have an insanely wonderful little area of territory here for the Beartailed clan, and I will be very pleased with that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, let's build the siege camp here. Actually, I don't want to build the siege tower first. I want to build the battering ram first, if at all possible. And let's build the siege tower around about there. Alright, yeah, I don't know whether you've noticed, but a bunch of my caravans have been taken out, and they have been destroyed. And I'm not sure if that's actually going to really affect my income that dramatically. As you can see, there is one caravan here specifically that is making a massive amount of cash. That is Mr. Blacktooth. He is making 668 gold per day, and obviously this is wildly different to that of Mr. Cole the Ragged, who is only making 89 gold per day. But I assume that that is primarily because of the various economies that they're currently inhabiting. That's the only, that's the only way I can really explain that. But anyway, let's move on here. Let's try and take this. And did I actually build everything right? Oh, I might not have actually built it. Did I? Oh, well, these walls are pretty large, so we should be okay here. I mean, I hope so. Did I not build the siege? I did not build the siege ladders or the battering ram. I think I might have gone in a bit prematurely. Oh, well. Never mind. This gives me a good opportunity to kind of test out these Sturgian castles. Because obviously, well, to be fair, Sturgian siege layouts and things like that are a little bit different wherever you might go. They have quite a few different variations in comparison to, for example, the Empire, where the Empire is very uniform. They have a lot of siege layouts that are relatively similar, and as a result, you're not really going to see too much variety there, and so you don't really need to worry too much about your siege strategy. But you can see here, look at these guys. They're literally just allowing us to get onto the battlements and really not giving us that much of a fight. Look at this. I can literally just go right up here, slaughter this fellow with my new weapon. By the way, this weapon is absolutely fantastic. I haven't actually mentioned that just yet, but this weapon is really, really fun. And this is something that we created in the previous episode. It has a wonderful name as well. I will not attempt to remember what it was, because it is such an incredibly long name that I will need to literally look at it to remember what it's called. Oh, dearie me, dearie me. Okay, yes, anyway. I will hopefully be able to slaughter as many people as I can. And hopefully, as a result of this, we will be able to gain some decent one-handed skill and some good athletics as well. Hopefully that's going to work out. well for us. Ah, yes, very nice indeed. Okay, wait a minute, wait a minute. Where are you guys going? This is... Okay, this is obviously wrong, right? This... Okay. I'd like to say this is Bannerlord in a nutshell, because that's kind of a funny, amusing sort of... it's not really an anecdote, but it's kind of a funny example of AI in the Mount & Blade franchise. But actually, I haven't seen many of these situations happen. This is a rarity. This is very much a rarity, in my opinion. I mean, sometimes it does happen, yes, it definitely does happen, but very much on a... I would like to say on a minimal scale. At least I haven't seen a lot of that. The only time that the AI is a little bit funny with their orders and things like that is when we are in a... when we're in a siege attack. Yeah, like obviously we're in a siege attack right now, but what I'm talking about is when people are outside the walls and they actually have no way of getting inside the... you know, when they're outside and they're preparing to come in, they are then just standing there. And they don't do anything, even though they have a completely open area to attack and run into. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm just going to zoom things up here. And I have... See, now, this is also something that I wanted to mention. I would like to know why there is no battle map, or why there is no way for me to tell where the enemy's units are. Because in this kind of situation, imagine if I did not have the super speed mod installed. Imagine how long it would have taken me to just wait for my units to find where the enemies were, because there were still, what, 20 or so units remaining, and I had no idea where they were, and my units finally found them, or they finally ran away, or whatever it was, and... well, the super speed mod actually helped me to end the siege just that much quicker, because obviously, you know, time is precious, and, you know, we need to make sure that, you know, that kind of thing. Everyone needs to make sure that they're spending their time as they wish, and not to waste it in these kinds of situations. Anyway, I'm going to place a lot of money in here. Wow, the loyalty of this place is absolutely awful, as you can quite clearly tell. So I'm going to have to do something about that. We're going to have to stay in here for a little bit of time. But I don't think you want to see that, so I'm actually just going to cut away for a second. But I'm just going to show this. We're just going to go for 250. I don't know why I can't get 250. It's kind of weird. There we go. And there's tier 4. And there we have it. Let's also go and sell our prisoners. Oh yeah, and Nivea the Wanderer has now joined our party once again. And we are just going to speak to the merchant once more and form a caravan. And Nivea is going to be the girl for the job. So hopefully she'll do okay and not get killed. Ah, the familiar lands of... oh. The familiar lands of apparently rebels rising up against their lord, Old Man Byron. Yes, fantastic. Okay, that is hilarious. Great timing, by the way. That was fantastic timing for the game to literally give me that message just now, but okay. Yeah, so the rebels in Varcheg have taken ownership of the settlement. I gotta say, I don't really mind. Personally. I don't really mind. If they want to do that because they feel that they're being unfairly treated, then yeah, that is obviously up to them. They can do whatever they want to do. And I probably have not taken care of them, to be honest. I mean, I have not been back there since I took it, and I mean, I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to deal with all of that being only one person. It's a bit difficult to do that when I'm literally required to I don't even know, take stuff myself. So I have to capture, I have to expand, you know, I have to help the Vlandians to do their own thing. And then, on top of that, I also have to manage all of my, all of the fiefs that I take. And that's not even getting me started on the whole governor system. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm not even going to get into that, because I've already gone on a relative, I mean, that's the thing. I haven't really ranted about the whole siege system. I just think it needs a little bit of refinement. That's it. You know, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying it's going to be really good once it gets a little bit of refining. But anyway, we are now in a situation where I'm maybe gonna die. Hopefully not. But, yeah. Hopefully I can get by here, and then we can use our wonderful, wonderful sword to do massive damage. 55. Yes. Oh, there we go. That was much better. Thank you. Is it just me, or did I just see Amnon the Surgeon literally gain more athletic skill than we have? I think that is indeed the case. Wow. How much do I have? I have 242 in one-handed at the moment. Oh, my athletics is 175. Yeah, he does have more than us. Well, that was easy enough, wasn't it? Yes. I mean, that's the point. Generally, I want to try and connect my territory as much as I possibly can, and we seem to be doing a relatively decent job of it. Anyway, just going to do that to level up a bunch of my people, and we do have Epicrotia very, very close by as well, so I'm actually going to go and go into the marketplace right there. Okay, so now, here's the thing. I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to deal with every single place and their loyalty situation. So, it's a bit of a... it's a bit of a difficulty. I'm not sure how we're supposed to do that. But anyway, 150 units in here. And we'll just train up the people. There we go. And manage the castle. Oh, these guys have 66 loyalty. That's pretty good. Alright, I'm happy with that. Hopefully that's going to be quite nice. Bear in mind that obviously security is one of the biggest... Oh, wow. Okay, hello there. Mr. Lucon. With over 1,500 units in his army. I am going to very quickly run in the opposite direction, thank you very much. And I'm going to make a brief stopover at Varcheg in just a second. Oh, we've leveled up. Oh, hello. It's been a while. It has certainly been a while since we've leveled up. Okay, so wait a minute. I'm actually going to change Amnon the Cert... Wait a minute. No. I'm going to change Matunis from the engineer, and I'm going to now be the engineer, or I'm just going to leave it as none. And then we're going to see what happens, because I'd actually like to level up my engineering skill, because it seems like he doesn't want to or can't do that for some reason. Because if we take a look, actually, at the engineer... Oh, he has 134. So he has actually been leveling. Oh, okay. Well, that's a bit weird, because I haven't actually seen him gain any points in engineering, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I just haven't built enough trebuchets or something like that. Anyway, Varcheg is only a stone's throw away, and then we'll see what's going on there. I'm not entirely sure what to spec in now either. That's the main problem here too. I do have an attribute point to spend, of course, alongside the focus point, and the attribute point is a little bit easier to spend, but I'm thinking smithing. I think I said in a previous episode that I would be spending a focus point in... Wow, they've got a massive garrison, because obviously I decided to put a massive garrison in here. I am an imbecile. Yes, indeed, I am an imbecile. Okay, I won't be able to take this. Nope, I won't be able to take this right now. I'm going to need to go and get some additional units and then come back here. Bear in mind that most of these units are now going to be probably tier 4 as well, or at least half of them, maybe 25% of them, will be tier 4. And that is all thanks to me. Oh yes, that is all thanks to my wonderful decision-making. You know, somehow I feel like the best course of action is, in these situations, it's probably, when you're using Improved Garrison, to make most of your templates be very low level. So for example, don't have anything that's higher than tier 2, maybe tier 3 for towns, and then just make every single effort to put as many units in the garrison as possible and just forget about quality of unit and make it mostly, you know, impactful with the amount of numbers, the amount of units in there. That, in my opinion, is probably much better, especially for this situation, because if you can imagine me having to deal with 400 units of tier 2 or tier 3, that's not a big deal. That's actually fine. I think I should be able to do that without too many difficulties. But now I'm in a situation where I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to deal with 150 or 100 tier 4 troops? That's going to result in a lot of casualties on my side and a lot of expenditure as well. But it seems like the Valandians are actually attempting to take it back, so maybe I don't even need to worry about it. Maybe they are going to be the ones to deal with it for me, which I think is... I never like doing that. I like to, you know, solve my own business in this case, but he has 679. Mark my words, I wouldn't be surprised if he either fails to take this, or if he is able to take it, he loses about 500 units of his army, and then he's running around with a very, well, deficient? No, I don't want to say deficient, but generally he's going to be a lot weaker after this siege. Anyway, this is what the map is currently looking like. The Valandians are now expanding so far out, and the Sturgians basically only have 2 fiefs remaining, and that is in a game with Calradia expanded. Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah, well, technically they have 4 more fiefs, but I don't know whether I really count the castles at this point, because there are just so many different fiefs around here. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.